Is it too late to save the U.S. economy? That's the headline from the piece in Bloomberg. So here's the thing. Before we answer the question of whether it's too late to save the U.S. economy, we need to actually ask how much damage has been caused in the U.S. economy,
right,
and does it need saving?
Yeah, that was my first question. Does the economy need, quote, saving?
I don't know, and anyone else professing that they know exactly what the economy is going to do over the next 6 months is lying to you. And here's why. In a span of 45 days, we have seen an absolutely ridiculous amount of volatility related to how much stuff may or may not cost to bring into the United States.
Ridiculous is a good description, yeah.
I have no idea how this has affected what businesses are planning or were planning on doing later this year.
Nor do I know how consumers are thinking about their own personal financial situation today compared to February 1st.
What I can tell you is, and Mike and I talk about this a good amount, it's really rare to see U.S. households change their spending in a material way before being forced to.
Right.
And it's not to say that people may not have shifted their spending patterns the last couple months, but it was most likely, hey, I was going to buy a car in September. Okay, I'm buying the car in March instead. And then September auto sales are weak. Hey, you know what? I'm a little bit nervous that we're not going to be able to get all the cat food because it's made in China. Okay, let's buy 6 months worth of cat food right now. Things like that. And that, people may have pulled forward demand. I don't think in the aggregate we're seeing any information right now that points to a conclusive change in spending in either direction. You might have had some wobbles here and there to the upside or downside depending on the category. But by and large, to quote, the late, great Charlie Munger, we ain't seen it.
He said that?
No, he didn't. I just like making up Charlie Munger quotes right now. Just it's kind of in a little Munger thing,
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, so that really is a precursor to asking about rescuing or saving the state of the U.S. economy. You have to prove out that it is, in fact, headed for a bad place, which, look, it does not take a genius to paint that picture. Certainly, it could be that we are heading for a recession. The counterpoint to many of these things would be we are entering any sort of financial difficulty at an amazingly strong starting point. Unemployment's at 4.2%. Inflation's under 3%. Consumer household debt, while
totally
not great, I mean, if home prices fell by 20%, how many people would be underwater on their mortgages?
Well, it doesn't matter if they're not forced to sell them.
It doesn't matter. But I can't imagine there's been many points in time where that could happen and fewer Americans would be underwater on their mortgages. So I just go back to these scenarios, and I am, as you've heard us, quite concerned about where this all could go. But my biggest concerns are more about, hey, does this do long-lasting damage to the state of the dollar as a reserve currency? What does this do to long-lasting relationships that we frankly will not see play out over the course of the next 6 months?
Well, let's even, because again, some of that stuff's kind of nebulous. Will it change the dollar's reserve currency status?
Who knows?
That's too nebulous, man.
And what will happen if it does?
You're sitting there with too much smoke around your head. Instead, I like to think of it in terms of get more micro than that. And this is the place where I don't think we know, and we just need to see how it plays out for the next 6 months, which is why Jay Powell used the term wait 400 times during his press conference a couple weeks ago. If you are a business owner, whether your business has 3 employees or 300,000, how are you assessing your ability to take risk right now? Because the fundamental thing that businesses do in order to expand, there's a reason why we use the term lever up. It's because they typically borrow money to do so. They don't just invest their own. They use other people's money. Tale as old as time.
Yep.
And so the question that's out there is, for all the bean counters with their spreadsheets that went to MBA programs, who I talk about quite derisively quite often, What numbers are you plugging into those spreadsheets right now, and how do they inform how you're making decisions? And it might be, hey, we have, 3 different sets of numbers that we're plugging in, and if 2 out of the 3 work, we go ahead with it, and if 2 out of the 3 don't, then we don't. Because you don't really know, can anyone conclusively say they know what trade policy is going to look like January 1, 2026?
Heck no.
And so this is the piece that I think matters, which is, what are we seeing in terms of companies and their willingness to spend money to make money?
Right. This, like every other recession in American history primarily, will not be a consumer-led recession if we get one. It's what our business is planning, what is going to happen there. The last thing to show up, and I know we keep talking about it and people keep looking at it, but I think the very last thing to show up will be consumer spending dropping.
I will say there's also again, the one place where you're not seeing really any hesitation, at least that has been notable to this point. Anything related to AI is still moving, at a pretty good clip. We had a little bit of concern about that after DeepSeek and some of the stuff about, hey, is data center growth slowing? Given what we've seen this week about, hey, we're going to just send a bunch of chips over to the Middle East and we'll see what happens, that fear appears to have dissipated in markets for the time being. We'll see if it comes back. I found this was pointed out by Luke Kawa, who writes for Sherwood News. Again, this is really interesting here. So the Cisco CEO, remember, Cisco is not what it used to be, but right. they still see everything that's happening in tech. Quote, I think the AI transition is just so important that they're going to continue to spin until they just absolutely have to stop. And he pulled this quote. This is from Citi CEO Chuck Prince back in 2007. It's a great pull because it's a quote that still sticks with me. When the music stops in terms of liquidity, things will be complicated, but as long as the music is playing, you've got to get up and dance. We're still dancing. And his point wasn't that the AI thing is going to end the same way as the housing bubble. It's much more, hey, when you have these booms going on, there's so much incentive drawn to executives to just have to participate even if they know it's not going to work out. And that's what's going on right now. We don't know if it's going to work out or not with AI.